is number one killer. After a while, it begins to feel overwhelming, right? So when I heard today's topic, cognitive decline part two, which we're all here on part one, and the word research and breakthrough, that was one word that really got my attention, the breakthrough. And I feel like we can all use that hope because the word breakthrough is very important. So I want to remind us that while science may not have all the answers yet, that they're working on it. And Dr. Ajibade is here to give us that hope, to enlighten us, to educate us, to give us information so that we know what to do and how to do it. So, having said that, I want everybody here, use your emoji. See, I'm an emoji person. You guys click on more. I don't know where it is on your computer. Let's give a warm Medical Monday welcome to Dr. Ajibade. Use your heart. Good job. Thank you. Oh, look at them. Oh,
wow,
man.
look at that.
Look at, oh, wow. Look at my
Good.
Medical Monday family. You guys are awesome. Great job. Great job.
Thank you.
Great job. All right. So, Dr. Ajibade, we're excited to have you to take us down a very important message today. And please, I know we know you, you're child of the house or man of the house, but I'd like for you to please introduce yourself again and tell us what we are about to enjoy today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ma. Thank you again for the wonderful warm introduction, and thank you, everyone. I saw an exploding heart emoji. I've never seen that before, where the hearts just explode and multiply over the place. That is superb. It makes me feel very welcome. So thank you again, Auntie Lara. I appreciate it. Thank you all for all you do to support this mission that Dr. O has undertaken for the past, how many years now? Like 5 years or more?
5 years.
About 5 years. Wow, that's. I think I joined a year after you started, so it's been great. All right, so thank you. We will be speaking about, as I'll be showing slides in a minute, but my name is Dr. David Ajibade. Dayo Ajibade is what Nigerians call me, but most white people could not pronounce Dayo, so I use my Catholic confirmation name, which is David. Yes, I was raised Catholic. I'm a physician, medical doctor. I'm actively treating brain disorders. So everything from autism in children all the way to adults with strokes, dementia, Parkinson's disease. We do not use medications at all. I know that sounds very controversial, but this has grown out of the work that we've done with kids. Obviously, with kids, they're much more fragile. And quite frankly, there are not many drugs that can actually quite frankly, the truth is, when it comes to brain disorders, especially the more severe ones, we've not seen very, very, very successful drugs. I remember in medical school when I was going through my neurology training, which is the study of brain disorders. The brilliant professors would give us long lectures about these diseases, and then they would identify the disease, they would describe the disease, they would talk about all the signs and symptoms and yada yada, how to detect it and so on. But when it came to the treatment, the actual treatment, I remember this very clearly. 1 line, 2 lines, that was it. It was not, there was because for most of these conditions, there was very little that could be done. Up till now, except if you go to these really big centers like Johns Hopkins, which is down the road from me, that's when you can actually see them having real breakthroughs that they're applying towards the treatment of certain brain disorders. But for the rest of the world, it seems like standard conventional care and medications simply haven't provided the success that we were hoping they would. Now, who knows? With Elon Musk, Neuralink, AI, and all those things, maybe they'll be able to transplant an entire brain or replace entire parts of the brain with AI brains and all that. Who knows? But as it is now, we're not really seeing very much hope. And so our approach is to think about the brain as a building. If the part of a building is damaged, if the walls are damaged, we can address it by providing the building blocks and the manpower and the expertise to put those walls back in place. And so that has been the quest of my life, to really find out what those building blocks the brain needs to repair itself, and then find a way to safely and systematically replace or restore the brain back to function by providing those building blocks. And of course, we're talking about nutrients, whether it's things as simple as magnesium and potassium, or things as complex as what we call nutraceuticals, which are combinations of different nutrient extracts, concentrated, manipulated in certain ways, but are very what they call bioavailable to the brain. So that's my brief story about myself. Well, we have a foundation. We are, like I said, we treat kids with brain disorders for free in Nigeria, in Abuja. Now it used to be every week. Now it's once in 2 months, where we have people calling all over Abuja coming for help. And we, like as we said, we provide it for free. And it's really out of the work we've done with kids and the success we've had treating kids with brain disorders, that we now migrated or evolved. Well, I can't say migrated because we're still treating kids, but we evolved to start treating adults with strokes and dementia and Parkinson's and other disorders using the same principles that we have been using for children. So it has been a good journey, a long journey, and a lot of these things that, like we've learned, a lot of things that we're telling you today are things that we have actually learned in our experience, but also from the research that is coming out in the field. It's going to be a little disappointing if we're looking at if you're expecting me to talk about the research breakthroughs that have come in dementia treatment from the hospitals, because we're not, like we said earlier, it hasn't been very, very exciting at all. Now, there have been some breakthroughs in terms of detection. So they can do blood tests where they can detect Alzheimer's disease and other dementias at an earlier stage. But what happens then? What happens? So I was watching somebody from the Alzheimer's Association talk recently, and they said, okay, what happens when you detect that somebody may have dementia? Well, they said their answer was this: it gives the family more time to prepare, get their finances in order, to get their books in order. But she didn't say anything about what you can do to slow the decline and even to reverse it. So I'm telling you now that there are many doctors around this country and around the world who are beginning to find out the keys to reversing cognitive decline, and also to whether it's just memory problems or actual advanced dementia. There's a lot that can be done. So I hope this will be of benefit. Please get your questions ready. I'm going to go ahead and share my slides with your permission. All right, let me know if you can see my screen, man.
Yes, sir.
Yes, we can see the screen?
Yes.
Yes, perfect.
Yes,
all
we
right.
can. Sorry.
Excellent. All right. So that's the topic for today. I hope this thing is moving along. Okay. Quick disclaimer, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but we're supposed to put it out there. And basically it's that I am a doctor and I treat patients, but I'm not your doctor. So please go back to your doctor if you wanted to make any change. If you're thinking about making any changes, please go back to your doctor and get proper consultation. I also offer a free 15-minute consultation. If you want to know about that, just send me an email. The information will be available, or I'll put my email in the chat. Obviously, within 15 minutes, we can't diagnose all of your problems, but I can certainly help point you in the right direction, help you get some tools that hopefully will be of benefit. I spoke last month, so I'm just going to quickly recap. That was part one. It was about reversing cognitive decline. And basically, we focused on what causes dementia and how you can recognize early signs, but also what you need to do to keep your brain healthy and strong, your own brain and your families, your loved ones. What we see is that those who have dementia, their loved ones, the primary caregivers of those with dementia have as much as 6 times, in some cases 12 times, the risk of getting dementia themselves, simply because they're taking care of a loved one with dementia. So dementia affects not just the primary sufferer, it affects everybody else. So it's very important. In my opinion, every physician and every person from primary school, kindergarten and onward should know something about dementia, because it's all those things that happen in our earlier lives that come back and quote unquote bite us in the you know what. All right, so these are the 3 principles I always talk about. You need to know what harms your brain and know how to avoid it. You need to know what helps your brain and embrace it. And number 3, you need to know your numbers. There are certain tests that I recommend for most of my patients and clients, and many of them are not routinely ordered. And they're not difficult to get. They're simple blood tests. It's just that doctors are not familiar with the connection between these tests and brain health. And that's to be regretted. So there are certain tests that you need to know. And let me just skip that slide because I've already talked about it. I'm just going to do a quick recap. Baltimore City is number 1. Prince George's County, where Dr. O is number 2. Maryland is number 1. Most sufferers or patients are women. And of course, most caregivers are women. So we really, really, really need to lean into, and I don't know why it's not happening. I mean, they should be shouting about this on the rooftops. Why women have it worse? What are the things you need to do? I'm actually coming out with a book specifically to answer this question. And at most, I see maybe 2 or 3 reasons that are given for why women have it worse. They'll talk about longer age, the age, they live longer, 5 to 7 years. Number 2 is obviously menopause. So that's the decline in estrogen. That's another factor they give. But I can tell you this, there are over 15 different reasons why women have it worse. And I don't really see people talking about them much. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to address that. Of course, Black people Black people have it twice as bad, and the numbers are not looking good in our favor. So these are the top 3 categories of people or populations or demographics. I hope if the noise is distracting, if AC just came on and it's right next to me. But these are the 3 demographics that are most affected by dementia. Military veterans, especially those who served in the war fronts, Black people, and women. And again, we're not really hearing too much about what to do in these cases. So let's quickly just talk about what Alzheimer's disease is. Alzheimer's disease is a degenerative brain disease that is caused by complex brain changes following cell damage. And that is the key right there. Seen to identify dementia. Now, if you see the amyloid plaques, if you see the tau tangles, the person has dementia when you combine it with the other symptoms. But the Alzheimer's Association doesn't even mention it. And I think that is telling. That is very, very telling. We're going to get, I will get back to that later on. I broke it down. I think, Madam Lara, is there any extra noise coming in? Are you noticing?
Nope, not at all. We're
It's
good.
quiet, yeah.
Okay, good. It's
I guess
kind of
you're
loud
hearing
here.
voices.
Okay, good. Thank you. So let me just go back. So this is the definition of dementia. So what I did was that I broke it down into the 6 steps, and I filled in some blanks. So what causes cell damage is what I've referred to as dementia's dirty dozen. And I'll say a few things about that. These are the pathways that lead to cellular damage and then to energy depletion. I'll talk about that in a minute. Complex brain changes, degeneration, worsening symptoms. This is now the new template for how dementia progresses. We used to be taught in medical school, I think they're still teaching it. So it takes a little while for medicine to catch up from the research table. But we used to be taught that Alzheimer's disease is caused by the mysterious appearance of these proteins, the amyloid plaques and tau tangles, and then they sort of multiply all over the brain, and then they choke the synapses, they choke the brain cells. And then it's like they're like cancers. But these times they are proteins that kind of spread and multiply over the brain and kill the brain. And that's what leads to dementia, and that's what leads to death. So it was all about the amyloid plaques. Now we're beginning to see that it's not as mysterious as that. It actually makes a lot of sense when you look at this progression, because there's damage first, and then certain things happen. So here, what I did was that I tried to put it into a framework that people can understand. So it's called Dementia's Dirty Dozen. You see, they all start with the letter I. And so everything from, so under illnesses, we're talking about things like diabetes, under injuries, things like strokes, brain injuries, CTE that footballers have, and so on and so forth, inactivity and so on. So what we did was that we wrote a book. It's now, thankfully, I finally got it together. It's now available on, I can put a link at the end of the presentation. So if you want to get one for yourself, you're welcome to get it through the link. Here's the book right here. And it's been surprisingly, everywhere I go and do a presentation, they love it. They buy the book. Now some people are actually using it to teach lessons to their groups and their listeners. All right, so I'm going through this process because for you to understand the breakthroughs that are coming up in the treatment of dementia, you need to understand how it happens. Because if you don't understand how it happens, you probably will not really appreciate why we do what we do. And by we, I mean people like me who actually treat dementia and see reversals. And I know, again, it's very controversial. We've been taught that it cannot be treated, it cannot be reversed. What you're saying is blasphemy. But I'm here to tell you that I know what I know what I've seen, and that if you follow the simple principles, it is possible. It is not easy, but there are simple principles to treating dementia, to addressing cognitive decline. And so I just had this picture here. I mean, it's a little busy, but basically I'm showing the progression. There's the dementia's dirty dozen are these 12 things that attack the brain, and then they cause damage. The brain tries to recover, it tries to fix the damage, but for different reasons, it's not getting enough resources, it's under stress, it's not getting enough sleep, and so on and so forth. It just creates a vicious cycle that eventually leads to the depletion. And this is the key right here, the depletion of energy. The brain is not able to generate enough of the energy it needs to run itself. And therefore, at certain points in time, it begins to cut back. So at 50%, they call it MCI. At 60% depletion, that is when you have full dementia, when the brain is not able to generate more than 40% of the energy it has. Now, these are not fixed numbers, obviously, but they are approximate numbers. When you're 20s, you're able to generate close to 100% of the brain energy. But with all the damage that has happened over the decades, it begins to wear down on your brain's ability to produce energy. And the brain, and this is what I want you to get, the brain is the one doing the cutting back. It is the one pruning, it is the one tearing down the synapses, those connections between brain cells. The brain is the one tearing them down. Why? Why is it doing that? Simple answer. Those synapses take a lot of energy, especially the synapses, the connections in the parts of the brain that have to do with memory, speech, judgment. The most complex parts of the brain naturally are the most energy demanding parts of the brain. And so it just makes sense that the brain will now try to preserve the more survival parts, the parts that have to do with breathing, digestion, and so on, blood flow, and so on, in favor. It will now cut back on the judgment, memory, and all these other things that are not as important, quite frankly, as those other survival things. So that is really what is happening. if your brain was generating enough energy to run itself, it would not be dementia. It will be something else. Maybe you will just have focal deficits as a result of injury or infection. But once your brain is not generating enough energy to run itself, it will start shutting itself down. And that really is the cocoa of the matter. That's really what is causing dementia. Now, again, you're going to say, oh, you're not, this is the Johns Hopkins professors have not said this, and I understand that. But like I said, some of this research takes time to leave the lab table or the bench to the bedside. You will know you heard it from me maybe 10 years from now. But I'm saying this for those of you who might need help now, for the people who your loved ones. I have this picture in front of me, in front of you. It basically is saying stop. The brain is saying enough. It's not going to keep running itself because it's not getting enough energy. So it's saying enough is enough, pretty much. All right, so let's look at what currently obtains in the treatment of dementia, and then we're now going to what we're now doing to address dementia. There are about 3 or 4 things that are standard of care. Right now, the number one standard of care is remove the amyloid plaques that we mentioned. So like we said, there are proteins that are being created that are appearing in the brain, and doctors and neurologists are thinking that is the problem because that is what they can see. And so the drugs that are being made, even the most recent one called Leqembi, they are being made to remove that. We'll get back to that in a minute. The other drugs, I guess the most enduring drug that we've seen so far is called Aricept, right there. And what it does is that it tries to raise levels of a neurotransmitter called acetylcholine. That neurotransmitter is a brain chemical that is most linked with learning and memory. So they identified that in many of these patients with Alzheimer's, they had low acetylcholine. So it makes sense that they would want to increase the levels of acetylcholine. And they found it worked, maybe for 6 months, maybe for a year. But after a while, it stops working. That's pretty common. It stops working, and then the patient continues to decline. So it only for a little while can, so to speak, slow things down. It buys you some time, but that's all it does. Then, of course, there are other things that the doctors do. They address the symptoms. So if the patient is becoming violent or depressed or has sleep problems, they address those separate symptoms. And then, of course, there's the memory care. I just came back from, I went to visit Colombia, the Brightview in Colombia. These Brightview centers are massive centers that are being built all over the Northeast region. And they're very successful, and they have long wait lists. And of course, it's only the rich that can pay for it because they don't even take insurance. So that's the one. So it's called memory care because that's where they take care of people with dementia. They also have independent living. They also have assisted living. But this is the standard of care. This is the standard of care. You're not going to find anything else. And doctors will be afraid. I got to tell you, they're not going to try anything else because that is the standard of care. But they will all tell you behind the scenes that, yeah, we're not really seeing results. In fact, some of them have given up on the amyloid, on the drugs to treat amyloid, because after a while, they just don't see it. And if you've been listening to me, you will see that this is why you really can't expect them to work, at least not long term. Now, I take that back. Number one, they found that it did work when they removed the amyloid plaques, when they used the newest drugs to remove or to attempt to remove the plaques. They found that it worked in many cases quite well. In fact, in some cases, it worked too well. In other words, they removed the plaque, but they removed the plaque so well that it caused tears, micro tears in the brain, causing, in some cases, swelling, and in some cases, bleeding. Did it help with long-term memory and short-term memory and all the other things that we're looking for? They claim that it slows it down, especially in the very, very, very preliminary stages of the disease. So not stages like the ones I treat, because the ones I treat are in Nigeria. Those, as you know, they will not come to you until Baba cannot even stand up from the bed again. That's when they now reach out to you. No one's going to come in at a very preliminary stage. So I'm just not sure. I don't know what to make of it. But if it were working, if these new drugs were working, we would all hear it. And quite frankly, I have not been hearing much about it. So they're being very quiet because I honestly don't think it's working like they should. So now that we've discussed some of the drugs, let's look into a little bit more detail into why they fail. And if you look at it, you see that it kind of makes sense based on our discussion. We're dealing with one chemical, acetylcholine. Do you know how many neurotransmitters there are in the brain? All right, I'm just going to go through that. It's one receptor, and it's called the NMDA receptor. It has to do with another neurotransmitter called glutamine. The other thing is that the drugs that they use to treat, they only deal with one protein, which is the beta amyloid, as we discussed. And this is the big one here. Most treatments are focused only on the brain. And I'm going to show you why that's, in my opinion, is inadequate, because the brain does not work on its own. And let me show you that in a minute. Okay. So here's the major problem, like we kept on saying. The major problem with dementia is a depletion of energy in the brain. That is the cocoa of the matter, as I've said. This is the root of all evil. Everything flows out of that. So unless you address that, you are not going to be getting much joy from your patients. And so I see this all happening all the time. You have some people, some of them are wealthier, where they have the caregivers. They come in, they take care of the patient, and my heart goes out to them because they're paying for and they're spending a lot of money trying to help their loved one, and they get the best doctors and all that, but they are not addressing this problem. And unless, as you can see, unless you address the energy problem, it's kind of like I don't know what to say now. I mean, a business organization. They're not making enough money. They're going to have to cut back. First of all, they lose the private jets. Then next thing, maybe they can't go by first class again. Then ultimately, they end up traveling by Greyhound. And all the other benefits. No more massages, no more free food. And they'll just go down to the scale down to the skin and bones, the essential things that they need. And that's what's happening in the brain. The brain is preserving its resources to run the essential programs: breathing, sleeping, digestion, and blood flow, and so on. So that is the problem there. All right. And I have this picture here to show there are several other things going on, but the number one thing is up here, top left, is brain energy depletion. If you don't fix that, there's a problem. There's also a lot of problems with, especially in Black people, we tend to have it worse. Vascular problems, atherosclerosis, inflammation in the blood vessels, and so on. And then there's neuroinflammation. There's what is known as white matter disease. I'm not going to go over all those things, but there's a heck of a lot of things going on in the brain. So why we just focus on one protein or one neurotransmitter or one receptor, it's beyond me. It's a lot more than that. And you can see that what happens. I think I had a picture here. All right, so it's not here. Well, here it is. So what happens is that the brain itself is shrinking. So just addressing one protein or one neurotransmitter is not going to be enough. You've got to address the whole brain, and not just the whole brain. You got to address other systems as well, because other systems affect the brain significantly. Obviously, the cardiovascular system, because without blood flow, the brain doesn't get the oxygen, therefore it can't produce energy. It doesn't get nutrients. It's not able to detoxify itself and so on. The brain needs nutrients, and the way the nutrients come into the body is through the digestive system. The brain also needs the hormones, especially estrogen, and that comes through the endocrine system. The immune system, very important. Detoxification, very important, and so on and so forth. So that is if you remember, I mentioned that one of in my opinion, and in my humble opinion, because we're not addressing the other organs and systems, and we're just focusing exclusively on the one organ, the brain, that is another reason. In fact, in my opinion, that's probably the worst reason why we haven't been so successful at treating brain problems. So our approach, again, I am by no means unique. Well, probably I'm unique in the sense, or we are unique at the foundation in the sense that, one, we do not use medications at all. So we only use nutrients, and that can be understandable. I'm not a neurologist, I'm a general practitioner. So I've never been good with medications, quite frankly. When I found where my areas of strength lies in using nutrients, finding out the right nutrients and using them to rebuild the brain. And the other reason why we don't use medications is that we operate in a very quote unquote poor environment in Abuja and in Nigeria. These people are coming to us from far and wide. They can only afford transportation. And so if we now start giving them medications and we say, oh, come back in 3 months, who knows what can happen? So we just want to give them things. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And we've had some failures. Yes, everybody has had failures. But we don't want to add to the problems. So therefore, we only use what we know is safe and what we know works. And we leave the medications to the smart people, the experts. Our approach is simple and straightforward. Just feed the brain. In fact, I'm going to get a picture out. I don't have it now. I'm going to get a picture of a child who is malnourished and a child who is well fed. And then compare that with the brain that is, like we showed you earlier on, the brain that is healthy and the brain that is malnourished. And we now show you the same principle that you use to help a child to get healthy is the same principle you use to get the brain, to help the brain get healthy. And so this is our approach here. There are about 7 things we focus on. And again, you saw the picture with the other systems. The number 1 thing is find a way, and it's quite possible, to help the brain generate more energy more quickly. Because once you get that energy levels higher, the brain will begin to revive. Obviously, that's not all you need to do. There's a lot more things that need to be done, but that, like I said, is the cocoa of the matter. We have to address that. We have nutrients that help to repair and improve circulation to the brain and within the brain. We also support things like sleep and the nervous system, help the nervous system calm down. We mentioned things like estrogen. The lack of estrogen is one of the big reasons why women after menopause tend to have a higher rate of dementia than men do, because estrogen is like a Captain America. It's like the Voltron of the brain. It protects the brain. So once you get past menopause, and in some women there's a very drastic decline in menopause, which is not well treated. I'm not saying it automatically causes dementia, don't get me wrong, but it is one of the things that can set you up, especially if you are under a lot of stress, if you have other diseases like diabetes, if you lose a loved one, for instance, you have a brain injury, you hit your brain. So those things can compound and now make that loss of estrogen even more damaging to the brain than it would have been if you didn't have those other things. There was an interesting story about the immune system. I think I want to talk about this really quickly. So I was listening to a professor in Israel, an Israeli professor. She was researching the immune system and its connection with the brain. And she sent, so what she did was that she had this, what they call knockoff or knockout mice. Knockoff, I think it's a knockout. Anyway, they blocked these mice, their immune system. So they stopped their immune systems from working. And then she now sent them to the lab to have them do memory tests. She did not realize what she was doing. The lab people did not realize what she was doing either. Because when you knock out the immune system, what do you think is going to happen? Okay, the mice may they are more likely to get infections or to get one disease or the other. But what happened was that the lab people now called her and they said, "Why did you send us all these stupid mice? Why did you they can't learn anything, they can't remember anything because they have them running through the mazes, right? So they'll have them run through a maze and then see if they can remember the path that they took to get through the maze." And the mice couldn't remember their way out. They couldn't remember what they had done. So what that taught her, and I'm hoping you can see this point, is that the immune system is very, very important in brain health and brain development, not just to protect against infections. So that really set her on a trail. And so it's very important. And I realized this too when I was treating kids with autism. There's something going on in their immune systems as well. So when we address their immune systems, it also helped their brain function. And that brings us to the next topic here, the gut, the digestive system. The digestive system, as we said, is the portal through which the nutrients get into the body. Of course, you have to get the right kind of nutrients and the right kind of foods, but the digestive system has to break it down. But that's not all the digestive system does. The digestive system is also where you have the majority of your immune system. So about 70 to 80% of your body's immune system is inside the walls of the gut. Another thing, the good bacteria, the bad bacteria, they call them the microbiome, is also inside the guts. And these are the bacteria. It's not just bacteria. There are viruses, there are parasites, there are even worms. Yuck. But they all have a function to play and they affect the brain. So what happens, and again, I see this in my kids, the kids I treat with autism and other conditions, what happens is that if something goes wrong, and it causes there to be an imbalance in the good versus the bad bacteria, there might be an overgrowth. In fact, in some cases, there's candida overgrowth in these kids with autism. And I'm going to relate it to what's happening here. And those bad bugs can start influencing the brain for the worse and make them they can block speech, they can make them hyperactive, they can make them aggressive and so on. It also happens in things like dementia. It's crazy, but we now see that if you take the bugs out of a person with dementia from their gut and you test them and you take the bugs, a sample of the bugs of a person who is a normal person of the same age, same sex, you'll find a significant difference in the proportion of the good bugs to the bad bugs. And you might see more of certain bad bugs, again, that are going to be influencing the brain. So again, the problem when all we're doing is just addressing the brain and you're forgetting about all these other systems, there's no way it's going to work. I mean, I'm a nobody from Nigeria, right? But I can see clearly, with all due respect, and I know we have some guys at the top on this platform, but with all due respect, it is blatantly obvious to me that if you don't do most of these things, you are not going to get good results from your treatment of someone with dementia. All right, so I need to tell a few stories, and Dr. O is always reminding me to tell stories. I should not just give theory, but I should tell stories. One of the stories, she saw the video. Unfortunately, the the children did not give the person permission to share the videos. But there was a video that I shared with Dr. O. An 86-year-old woman and her daughter. Her daughter had seen me on our TV show. We have a TV show in Nigeria, and the mother, 86 years old, she was out of it. She was still able to walk around, but she would go to the bathroom. Instead of using the toilet paper, she would use a towel and just hang it back. And then she would lose her way. She was wearing her clothes wrongly. She just wasn't. I mean, she would say things and she wouldn't remember doing those things. So the woman reached out to us. They sent her some of the things. I think it was even free at that time. We can't do that anymore though. Anyway, and within a week or so, the mother had stopped doing all those things that I mentioned, and she was totally lucid. And she was on TV. She was now or on the video, she was now thanking us for the work we're doing. There's another interesting story that I have. This man in his 70s was already. They live in the UK. They were already receiving assisted living care. The nurse would come in and take care of him. So he was basically bound to his wheelchair. He wasn't doing much at all. And so she reached out, we bought the non-medications. If I say medications, I mean supplements and nutraceuticals. We bought them here, shipped them to the UK. It was quite expensive. Showed them what I do is I take you by the hand and tell you which ones to start using, and I wait for the response, and then we build from there. So we don't just give everybody a massive dose at once. We calibrate, we titrate over time. Anyway, so this is one of the problems that the woman mentioned. He's watching TV. No, let me start with this. The assisted living person, I mean, the nurse would come in. She's white, so English. Would speak Yoruba to her, which is our language, which is one of the Nigerian languages. For those of you who don't know, his wife would come in, who is actually Yoruba, and he would speak English to her, which is very unusual. And then he'll be watching TV, and then he'll be reacting to the TV like they were talking to him. And sometimes he would get very, very worked up, very agitated and annoyed, and start shouting at the TV like there was an argument between him and the TV. And this was shocking to me. Within a week, it wasn't. I'm telling you, it was not up to a week after they started using the different supplements. And she said he started speaking Yoruba to her. He started speaking English to the nurse, and he stopped arguing with the TV. And the only thing we can get from that is that the brain knows what to do. You just have to provide it with the tools that it needs. So last story, a lady in her 70s, she was really bad. Like I said, in Nigeria, they don't come to you until it's really, really intolerable. That's when they come. And so I bought the things. She was bedbound. This is bedbound. She couldn't walk. Everything was on her bed. They wouldn't have to feed her. They would have to put the spoon in her mouth. So this is really bad. So we send them the stuff, and then I think it took a couple of weeks, but then she now sent me a video of her and her grandchildren were around her, and she was pointing to each one and mentioning them by name. And then in the background, you saw the nurse, the maid was just dancing for joy in the background. I'm checking to see if anybody has sent me a text, whether Dr. O or Madame Lara. So no, so I guess everything is okay, because I can't see anything. I can't see anybody now. I'm just looking at my screen, at my slides. And so she was remembering her grandkids. That was very unusual. Then they sent me another video of her now walking with supports outdoors. And then they show us sitting down. They were throwing a pillow at her, and she was catching the pillow. The one that really impressed me was she was lying down in bed. They showed me a video of her in the middle of the night, getting up from bed and then going to the bathroom by herself, and then coming back to the bathroom and going back to bed. These are things that will be termed impossible, because like we said, she was bedbound. But I've learned not to say anything is impossible these days, because you just never know. And for some people, it doesn't work as well. So, I mean, I'm not going to say that I've got. I've been batting 100% by no means, but there've been quite a few. There have been enough for me to tell me that if we get it right, and different people have probably different, shall we say, requirements, and because we're limited in what we can test for. Again, this is Nigeria. I mean, you can't even test for, in many places, you can't even test for vitamin D. I mean, I think things have changed now. But I remember when I was still in Nigeria 5 years ago, or 6 years, going to 6 years now. They said they would, even UCH, Ibadan, they said they would have to send it to some other country to test for vitamin D. So things are changing, I hope. All right, so I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission to educate as many people as we can get, or as many people as will listen about brain health and about dementia, what they need to do. We have a lot of free programs. We also have we have a few paid programs, like where I'm putting together an online library where you subscribe to on a monthly basis, where you can watch many of these videos. You can have diagrams, pictures, slides, whatever you want to do. I don't usually give out the slides that I do presentations for, and many people ask me for the slides. Those who are our subscribers will probably get them for free. We're going to start tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be starting free weekly, what we call Keeping Your Marbles discussions, where I answer your questions. We have discussions for like an hour. If people send me their questions, I can answer them. I'll make myself available for an hour every week. And then, of course, there are other things, like if people actually need to know what they need to do to protect their brains, or if they have someone who is actually going through dementia, yes, we can talk about that. We have a fixed program. We have programs for that to help. Basically, we're taking you by the hand and basically helping your brain get rehabilitated and get restored to health. We have different programs. I'm just not going to talk much about them, but just know that there is help if you really seek it out. I believe that everyone should have their own unique brain protection plan that they are working on. And like I said, people are different. A Black woman will probably need a different brain protection plan than a white or an Asian woman, because genetically we're different. They are different. We have different weaknesses. We have different strengths. I'm not too worried about a Black woman getting osteoporosis, but a white woman or an Asian woman, osteoporosis can be damaging to the brain, and people don't realize that. So I believe everyone should have some kind of supplement stack that is specifically helping to protect their brain. I mean, you may ask, how about the heart? How about the lungs? Let me tell you this. My experience is that if you really do what is right for your brain, you will find out that the other things take care of themselves. The immune system, the cardiovascular system. The problem is that most people simply do not know. They don't even think about protecting their brains. They don't know what to do. And I've asked so many people, even those who have lost loved ones to dementia, you ask them, what can you do, or what are you doing now to keep your brain healthy and prevent dementia? And do you know what they say to me? Nothing. They have no idea. They didn't even know it's possible to prevent dementia. So think about that. They are walking around totally oblivious of the things that are either damaging their brains or compromising their brains. And they are walking around being told that there's nothing they can do about it. That is where the tragedy is, especially in my opinion, the best country in the world, the most advanced country in the world. It should not be happening here. So what we're trying to do, like I said, is to help educate people everywhere on what they need to do to protect their brains and hopefully have their brains serve them into their 90s and beyond. So with that, I want to thank you for listening. I'm going to, here's my information if you can see it. Let's see now. And then I guess at this point, Madam Lara, Auntie Lara.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much,
Yeah, we're going to come back to your information page. Oh
Yes,
my
let me see.
God. Wow. Wow is what I can say. If you feel like you wowed, you think you've been fed with good information, let's show Dr. Ajibade some emojis, whatever that is. Come on, let the hearts explode. Let's see the thumbs up. Let's see the hand clapping. Yes, all of it, all
Thank
of
you.
it,
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
all of it. Yes. Thank you so much for who's that one with the big hand? I ain't seen that before.
That's me.
Wow. Oh, that was, I should have known. I should have known, Sister Tower. Yes. Well, you have shared a lot with us, not that we expect anything less. And we want to thank you for all the research. Uh, there are so many favorite parts for me. But before we go to our audience, I just want to, for clarity's sake, I want to ask a simple question. Are we are we actually getting better at treating cognitive decline, or are we just getting better at detecting and diagnosing it earlier? Because you mentioned something about what's the name of the Alzheimer's Center or something like that. So I want a distinction. Are we getting
Yes.
better at diagnosing it or detecting it, or are we getting better at you know treating the cognitive design? Which one? On a
Ma,
ratio,
I,
give us a
I,
percentage.
I think to be perfectly honest with you, and from what I've seen, I don't think we are getting better at treating. It's
Okay.
more of the diagnosis, and that's really where a lot of the energy is being pushed on. I mean, they're like I said, the Alzheimer's Association, they're really pushing for this new blood test now, so that people can, like I said, people can get prepared for end of life factors, so it doesn't come on them unawares. But so they're trying to get insurance to pay for these tests. But like I said, once they ask them, what do you do once you get diagnosed? They're like, there's nothing. There's really nothing. I mean, it's so bad. Think about this, Auntie Lara. Think about this. There is no medication treatment that can, if you, let's say your only problem is, I'm not remembering things like I was when I was in my 30s or my 40s. Can you give me a medication for that? What do you think they will say?
There's no such medication, right?
There's not. There's not. Why? I mean, to me, that's like bread and butter. That, I mean, uncomplicated, just memory loss problems. That's the easiest thing to do.
But they're not going to make money from prevention. They're going to make money from.
But that's not prevention, ma. That's not prevention. The person is already dealing with memory problems. That's not prevention. I mean, yes, it's prevention in the sense that it can prevent you from advancing towards dementia. But if a person is dealing with memory problems, it's a certain it's a certain problem. It's an uncomfortable condition, because it's embarrassing. You meet someone, you meet someone at a dinner party or whatever it is, and then you see them the next day and they say, "Hey, Auntie Lara, how are you?" And who are you again? I can't remember which party. We don't want that to happen. So those are uncomfortable things. So I mean, like I said, there's a lot you can do to. I mean, my mother was having severe memory problems. She didn't have dementia, but we had to fix it just like that. But it's possible to address it.
Well, very well. So I'm sure we have a lot of questions today. I'm going to start with Auntie Tower. We're going to come back and talk about your book and talk about, the 3 pillars, keeping your marbles and stuff like that. So we're going to, we're going to dig deeper into that. So Auntie Tower, please, you have the floor.
Good evening, everyone. Sister Lara, wonderful job. Keep going. You, Dr. Ajibade, you did a good job. Thank you very much. We really appreciate you all the time. My question is there age limit? Because I have someone now that is 87 at home. she used to be very good and everything, and all of a sudden, this dementia just came in and she couldn't do anything, incontinent and everything. But the daughter, she has like 3 daughters that are doctors. But one of them that was here went home and she called me and said, Auntie, I was surprised. Before, when she went home, the mother told her, she said when she saw it, she just looked at her and looked at her and looked at her. And all of a sudden she said, where are my 2 daughters? She has 2 daughters.
Mm-hmm.
And she was surprised because she doesn't even used to know who she was each time she has gone.
Mm-hmm.
She said she was so surprised, and she just told her that they were in school, they couldn't come at this time, and next time she comes home, they will come together. So I'm just wondering whether this kind of supplement can help her, and how much help can she get? She's old in age.
Yes, ma. From my experience, the example I gave was the woman who was 86, who was cleaning herself with the towel and all that. In my experience, there's really no age limit to help. Some people they just feel that, well, the cost, they don't want the stress. Some people, many people, what I've seen is that they just give up and they say, oh, Mama is already too old anyway, let's not stress her, we'll just manage until she dies. But my direct answer to you is that there's always something that can be done.
Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, thank you. There is always hope. So let's talk about some of the nuggets that you covered in your presentation. Let's talk about the 3 pillars, knowing your numbers and keeping them, knowing what harms you, knowing what helps you. Can you break that down in layman's language?
Absolutely. So that's a great question. So the number one thing, and this is how I developed, let me just quickly tell you, maybe I tell you the story of how I developed this framework, and then hopefully that will be illustrative. I started volunteering with the Alzheimer's Association about 3 years ago, and I approached them with the sole purpose of reaching the Black community, because I felt that we Blacks were not being addressed. All the advice that was being out is for white people. You know how they say white people, if you are stressed, you bring out your journal and start journaling. That's how you get rid of the stress. Or they'll say take a walk, and then take a walk if you are stressed. Take a walk. I mean, I remember saying that to a group of Black people, and one of the women, beautiful woman, 70-year-old woman, came out and says, "This man, do you know what he is saying? If I go out and take a walk in my neighborhood, they will shoot me." Anyway, so that's the idea, was that, oh yeah, do yoga. Somebody said do yoga. The idea was that we needed to talk to Black people about what our risks were and what they needed. So what I noticed was that I started talking about vitamin D. So the number one thing is know what harms your brain and avoid it. One of the things that significantly can cause dementia, uncontrolled hypertension, uncontrolled diabetes, those 2 things. If they're not treating them effectively, if those numbers are not normal, then it will increase your risk of dementia. Guess which community has the highest rates of cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and hypertension? Black people. So that was the one. And okay, that covers the know what harms your brain. I'm just using examples now. Number 2 was know what helps your brain. One of the biggest things that is not being talked about, and I talk about it a lot, is vitamin D. Vitamin D has been shown to be one of the like estrogen is one of the greatest protectors of the brain. People who have normal to high levels of vitamin D in their blood have the greatest protection, or they have more protection from dementia. And they say you can reduce your risk of dementia by as much as 50% if your vitamin D level, if you take supplements and your vitamin D levels are okay. Well, guess who has the least amount of vitamin D of all the populations? By far. And it's going to get worse during the winter. So knowing what helps your brain knowing what harms your brain, hypertension, diabetes, knowing what helps your brain, vitamin D, then knowing the numbers. So one of the tests we will do are about like your vitamin D levels, your blood sugar levels, your insulin levels. That's one thing that's not really tested much. And then the other things like vitamin B12, which is very important for the brain, and homocysteine and a few other things, and hormonal levels. So those are the numbers. There are about 7 or 8 different categories of tests that I advise people to order, even if their doctors don't order them. Even vitamin D, they will fight with you. I had to fight with my caregiver, my healthcare provider, for them to include vitamin D in my tests. So some of them they'll fight with you. So people need to be able to be strong advocates for themselves. I hope that answers it, Ma. So the 3 things I give examples: knowing what harms your brain and avoid it. So avoiding hypertension, avoiding high blood sugar, because those damage your brain. Number 2, know what helps your brain and embrace it, vitamin D. And number 3, know specific numbers. It's more than that, obviously. You need to know what to do, where to go to for tests, where to start treatment, and so on and so forth. But I try to simplify it.
Very well. I think we're going to work with Dr. O. We need to create a template for the BPP that you talk about, Brain Prevention Program. So we can have in column things that has associated with the brain, because we have various experts. We have the allopaths, we have the naturopath, we have the homeopath, all of the parts that you guys have. So we can say, because Dr. Ezogwu is going to prescribe something else, but there would definitely have to be similarity, because I love the recovery chart that you showed. Okay. It's like a engine of an automobile. One thing affects the other. You cannot continue just to put coolant in your car when the water is not there, or when the engine oil is not there. So some part of the car will be functioning well, some other part will be going through silent breakdown, even if it's not total breakdown. So we got to take care of all of it. So so we're going to work on that BPP template and figure out how we can take the best advantage. Somebody asked if in our Nigerian American culture, is there anything that predisposes us to dementia or Alzheimer's disease?
Is it Nigerian or American?
well, for the I guess for the Nigerians that are here in America. But you talked about all the symptoms that I think they're global symptoms. Insomnia is all over the place. Fatigue, all of those are things that you talked about. It could is color blind or ethnic blind. It can affect anybody.
Yeah.
If I may clarify.
Who's that? Please mute yourself. Thank you.
Yeah. So I mean, some of the things. I mean, one of the things that I've noticed, though, and I need to be careful when I say it, because I think I've got in trouble before. What I've noticed is that Black people in general, and forgive me if I say this, but Black people in general don't like going out in the sun. What I've noticed, I mean, I stay in the Baltimore area. I mean, even I go to the parks and all that. Or you see the Oyimbos, the Hispanics, but even when we see Black people, they are all covered up. It's like they don't want to get any darker for some reason. So I mean, one of the things that's one of the things I noticed, and of course another thing too, I don't see as much in terms of activity. I don't see, and this Baltimore could be. I mean, Baltimore could be different. Maybe it's different in other parts. But Baltimore is predominantly Black, so I would expect to see a lot more Black people running around, jogging, exercising, and all that. But most on bicycles or whatever it is. But most of the times I see is mostly white people that I see.
Yeah, because you live in white community. That's why. If you go to Black people neighborhood, they ain't got no car. They're walking.
Yeah, well, I'm talking about exercise as a not.
Yeah, that's part of the exercise in the Black community. They have to go to the bus station, go to the train station. They're moving from one location to the other to get around. That's their community integration. So if you live in the white community, yeah.
I live in Baltimore City. Baltimore City is predominantly Black.
It is? Okay.
Yes.
Yes, Madam VP, please, can I follow up on that question? That was me.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. After you, Dr. Zogo.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that recognition. Thank you, Dr. Ajibade. We always
Yes, sir.
appreciate you.
Thank you.
So I heard from your presentation that in Maryland, particularly, it's one of the areas that we have this issue. And in Maryland in particular, too, we have a lot of Nigerians. And I've seen that we have quite a few Nigerians with this problem. And is there anything that we're doing that is contributing to this factor as a group of people? Or there are things that we need to watch out for? You know, I know that we're concerned with everybody, but we have to take care of our own first. So are we doing anything wrong? Is there something we're doing as a group of people that we're not doing? So we need to, if you can elaborate on that, I appreciate it.
Yeah, great question. Another thing, I would say if we look at the diet too, we like solid a lot. Most people, two things I can point to. Maybe we don't take fast food as much, but solid is a big thing. I mean, we try to have our pounded yam. I'm from Ekiti, so I'm a pounded yam person. And then amala, eba. These are things that are not necessarily sweet, like eba and all that, or pounded yam. But people don't realize it presents a big sugar load to the body. These things are converted to sugar massively, and they can raise the sugar levels. Another thing is we drink soft drinks a lot. That's another thing that they pointed out. Research has shown that we Black people, whether Nigerians or otherwise, tend to like soft drinks. And then when it comes to coffee and tea, we then tend to put more sugar in our tea and a coffee than is. It seems as if we have a big sweet tooth in general. And I mean, people are going to argue that, white people do too, but we have less tolerance of sugar. For some reason, one of them is our low vitamin D levels than the other races. So I would say we don't have as much activity, deliberate physical activity. We tend our diets, especially the African diet, which has are very strong in starchy foods, is a sugar load. By the way, I don't know if I've said this on this program before. What your body is comfortable with is 1 teaspoon of sugar. So circulating through your entire body, where your body is comfortable is 1 teaspoon. Now, if you have a meal, it's going to fight tooth and nail to drive those sugar levels down to 1 teaspoon. So if you think if you take now a bowl of pounded yam, then now add orange juice, OJ, like 2 or 3 glasses and all that, or you've already exceeded 20, 40 teaspoons. So your body's going to try and drive all those things down. But you keep doing that day in, day out without you realizing what's happening. You're pounding your body with this toxic sugar levels. And eventually it's going to help increase the chances of having diabetes and other things, which in turn can predispose to dementia. So those are two things, that our diets and I don't think we have as vigorous exercise culture as we should. Let me put it that way.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Dr. Lawal, are you satisfied with your answer?
Very. Thank you, Madam VP.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Daddy Azugo, it's your turn.
Yes, thank you so much, Captain Ajibade, for your presentation. I'm glad that you guys are looking at this condition now from a very deep pathophysiological process than just treating the after effect or major damage. I want to underscore a couple of things on your presentation and bring the issue of the blood-brain barrier and the role of, because the brain is a very sensitive organ for oxygen. The brain is also very sensitive to energy. It doesn't have energy storage component, really. It depends on what is just coming to it. So once you deprive the energy source at any time, it has to preserve itself somehow. And the source of energy to it is those blood vessels, the tiny blood vessels that get to them. And so once we begin to damage those endothelium in them, there is damage to those areas, and then the energy is going to go down, and it has to try to preserve itself.
Yeah.
Now, the blood-brain barrier is highly sensitive for vitamin D. It needs vitamin D to function very well.
Mm.
That particular barrier as well is very aldosterone dependent. So if aldosterone is there, it destroys it.
Mm.
And so, when we talk about treating blood pressure, any condition, those endothelial function on those small vessels are aldosterone mechanism. And once aldosterone is there, it destroys them, causes end-organ dysfunction and problem. So when we're managing conditions such as blood pressure and even the diabetes, because high glucose will also damage the endothelium as well and create those problems. So addressing, protecting those endothelial area and blood-brain barrier becomes very important in what we do. So if you deprive yourself of glucose now, even though your brain is good, within a short time, you're gonna start feeling, something, okay? So it's really important that one underscore that pathophysiologic mechanism and taking steps to really protect the brain than waiting to when the damage is done. Because when you start doing an MRI, you're already seeing microinfarcts here and there, you're already damaging the brain. But again, thank you again for your crusade and fight, because it's the right one to really draw people to the fact that there's a pathophysiology that needs to be addressed rather than waiting for the late end to really talk about this. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you, sir.
I think that's a very good point.
Your comment kind of triggered additional question from me, because Mr. Lawal, the previous speaker, was asking if there was anything that predisposes us Nigerian Americans to this dementia, Alzheimer. And when Dr. Zuba is talking about, energy source, prevent, the brain block and the energy source. So when you talk about energy, I think a lot of Nigerians, most of us work 2 jobs. Even if you don't work 2 jobs, we work extended long hours on the one job. So fatigue is one of those predispositions. What do you think?
Absolutely. That's a good point. A lot of Nigerians stressed, trying to take care of their family here. They're trying to take care of their family in Nigeria, and they're not taking care of themselves health-wise because they're not aware. So yes, stress can certainly increase the stress on the brain and cause minor problems at first, but it compounds over time. I'm trying to think about something that's stress. So one of the things that stress does, so if you're working hard, working 2 jobs and all that, you're not getting enough sleep, that's already a problem. But even if you were getting quote unquote enough sleep, and that's questionable, many times people don't realize that you have to turn off the lights completely. No, I would even recommend that people have this face eye masks to make sure that you're sleeping in darkness. Some people sleep with the TV on. That's damaging to your brain over time. So, but even those who get good enough sleep, the problem is that if you're stressed and you're working, one of the things that can happen is that stress raises levels of cortisol. And if cortisol levels are consistently high, cortisol is known as the stress hormone. If levels of cortisol are consistently high, it can start damaging the delicate parts of the brain. And the delicate parts of the brain are the places like the memory center, the judgment center, the decision-making centers. Those are also the most complex, the most human parts of the brain. The things that separate us from the beasts. And so stress over a long period of time, like I said, raises cortisol levels and eventually causes damage to the brain. That's another pathway that people are unaware of. And again, because Nigerians are hustling, many times, especially if they're just coming into the country, that can be another factor.
Very well. Abimbola, are you sleeping? Our London rep. I'm coming back for you for a question. Dr. Booker, I have a question ready.
By the way, those of us who asked for the how to get the book, I think have you seen that?
I saw the link. The link is there.
The link is there, just in case.
My follow-up question regarding the book is, can you figure out a way to put it on Audible so it can be listened to? Because a lot.
That's a good question. I guess so. I guess we need to work on that. Currently, it's on. The first step first, Auntie. So it's on Kindle now on Amazon. So we now figure out how to put it on Audible. Next step.
Okay. Professor Amadou Baba, I've been waiting for you. I was actually looking for you. So you have your hand raised, sir. Please ask your question.
Let me mute myself. All right. Thank you, Doctor, for the.
It's only one question. If you ask two, you have to pay.
No, yeah. Okay. I think that it's. I can see it as a very complex situation from my own area. So I think the brain issue, you mentioned metabolism, and I think a few weeks ago when I did a similar, presentation about mental health, there was something called monoacid oxidase. Have you kind of looked into that? It's MAO, monoacid oxidase. It's a metabolic enzyme that actually it helps to regulate, metabolism that help with the brain. Just like most things, pass through the blood, but they need to be the energy that we have is usually come from sometimes the food we eat and other things that is well metabolized. If it is not metabolized very well, then you may have some like congestion, and that's not. You feel very heavy because nothing is distant. So that's another thing that I see that affecting one of the things that affect the brain. But other thing you mentioned about the race base, is it this dimension? Is it your presentation seems said it's race based, and so in that basis, is it being implied that it is genetic, or is it genetic? That's the other question. Then I'll follow up as the other question. Is it a genetic thing that say black, white, Asian, or is it environmental? Because we are talking about African American, or are you talking about Africans? Is there a difference between when you see black in Africa, black in Caribbean, black in United States? Is that the sample of study looks into that, or just when you say, because we are looking at black Mexico, Baltimore and New York and other things. So your sample, is it inclusive of all blacks, or is it exclusive of certain blacks in certain geographical area? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. So the first question, I'm not sure it was a question. You were just bringing up about MAO, monoamine oxidase. Yes. That's probably outside the scope of our discussion today, if I may say so. So yes, energy involves different biochemical reactions and all that. I'm not sure we'll be able to go into those details. Number two was the race, whether it's race-based or not. If you notice, I mentioned the blacks, the people who have the highest rates are the blacks, the women, and of course the military veterans. And I guess I would include even firefighters and police officers and all those things, because those who have been involved in severe conflicts. So yes, there's a genetic component, biological component, which would explain the blacks, and even the women too. So that component is there, but then there's also the environmental / occupational component, what these people are exposed to. So it's a variety of factors. That's why I keep on pointing people to the book. Yes, I want people to buy my book, of course, but I don't want us to get narrowed down to 2 or 3 causes, because there are about 12 different pathways. That's why I mentioned illnesses, I mentioned inactivity, I mentioned imbalances, all these other things. Now, having said that, there are some genetic, quote unquote, genetic factors that increase susceptibility, whether you are black or white or woman or male or female. And those are what is known as the ApoE4 gene, the ApoE genes. And so basically, if you have 2, I'm not going to get into this detail much, but if you get one from your father and one from your mother, and you have 2 ApoE4 genes, they say your risk of dementia is as much as 15 times the average person. And a good example of that, of such a person is Chris Hemsworth, the famous actor who starred in Thor or the Avengers movies, for those of you who watch Marvel movies. So Chris Hemsworth he plays Thor in the Avengers movies. He has both. So he's taking steps towards curtailing it. In my opinion, quite frankly, the genes, unless it's a very, very strong genetic correlation, like some villages I understand in South America, it's a village, they all have the genetic predisposition, and they all have dementia by the age of 40. So that's an extreme case. But the data shows that less than 5% of dementia is actually caused by the genes. So the remaining 95% have to do with our lifestyle, our diet, and so on. So I mean, I have very little interest, quite frankly, personally, very little interest in the whole genetic story, because I think so much more should be focused on our lifestyle, what we eat, what we don't eat, how we move our bodies, how we stay on top of our of things like hypertension and diabetes. I almost think the genetics is irrelevant, but it's not. It's still very relevant. I know to see, but again, the lifestyle and what you do on a day-to-day basis is so much more important.
Right. So a follow-up. So in the social science, we have something. I mean, I know you might have studied gerontology, right? It's aging, because you talk a lot of the certain age people. Now it is not though that as we age, certain things, just like a car. When you buy a new car, it works very well, and then it keeps deteriorating with age. So it is most of this thing. How much is it part as a label, and how much it is as a science? How much is it science, and how much is it labeling behavior that we don't, how to say, just label people, and then we get them into quote unquote treatment, but then that treatment doesn't really, there's no how do I put it? There's no exact way to treat it, right? And we say, well, let's try this, and let's try this, and let's try this, and then sometimes say, wow, it doesn't work. So is it a matter of label, or it's really a matter of science when we are dealing with these people with dementia? Or it's like a mental illness. The reason I say that, because I read studies by some psychiatrists. In fact, 2 of them, many of them, but the most one that did studies on this kind of situation, that Dr. David Rosenham in the 1970s, and Dr. Thomas Sass. I don't know whether you have come across them. Dr. Thomas SZASZ. They did study on all these issues. Then they come to the conclusion that it's more of a matter of labeling people and then following it up with years of quote unquote observations and conclusions. And have you thought of that, or that it's in a way it is not scientific, rather it's more of a labeling? What is your observations of that?
I'm sorry, I'm just not clear on your question. I'm sorry, I'm not sure I understand what the question is.
The question is the issue of anything dealing with memory, stress, and other things, which is it something that we consider as natural, as situational, or is it, and then rise to, or is it something that people are labeled and then we say, well, let's do treatment? Because when I hear you said sometimes people don't even have money to, it's very expensive to treat. If it's a disease, then is it targeted a certain demographic, like very wealthy people, rich people, or is it just everybody? And if that's so, is it just a matter of label rather than science? Is it scientific or label or social problem? Is it a social disease or scientific disease?
Are we talking about dementia?
Yeah, actually, yeah. Is it?
Yeah, there's it's not a social disease. It's an actual structural problem in the brain. The brain is actually diseased. The brain is actually shrinking. So structural, biochemical, physiological problem. I'm not sure I understand what you mean by social.
Well, it's, if you measure stress, so stress is a social situation, right? If stress also,
yeah, I mean, stress can be one of the pathways
right,
that can lead to it, but
right.
Reducing it to social dementia as a social disease, I'm not sure I would go that far.
Right. So because when you talk about Black people having the highest number of some things and women, so now I see that Black people, when studies have shown that racism as a situation creates stress on Black people.
For sure.
Oppression or domestic violence against women can also lead them to kind of put them in oppressive condition that can also result in some kind of symptoms. So that's what I was saying. Because those are situational things, those are social things. Because
there's no question those are factors, but like I said, there are so many more factors than that. For sure, the history of racial inequities and structural racism, and that plays a role there for sure. Right. But all I'm trying to do here in this talk is to have a more comprehensive view of everything and how these different things fit in. So the social thing that you mentioned may just be one piece of the puzzle. So there are several other pieces that come to it.
Okay. Yeah, so in our dealing with social, actually, we include, that's why I mentioned the MAO is because we kind of look at things holistic in gerontology. We look at everything holistically. There's in terms of behavior, but I think that, and then we look at the social prevention. So when we say how do we prevent it, and you mentioned about knowing it and then stopping it. If I know that the reason I am in this situation, let's say domestic violence, then I have to move out of it. If I also know that it is years of racism, then I have to understand it. But if I know it is genetic, what medication will you think will fit? Because that means biological thing, so you have to treat it biologically, right? So what medication?
So Professor Amadu, I think in the first part one that we treated this, he mentioned that, and if I hope I'm not misrepresenting you, Dr. Ajibade, but I recall that you mentioned that dementia is not caused by any single factor, that rather it's complex, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And the condition can be influenced by a combination of, including genetic predisposition, age,
Right.
right? Overall health, lifestyle choices, so we can't just change our genetics or stop aging.
Exactly. Well, I mean, yeah, that's why we tell them, so you can't stop aging, because sometimes what we do is, what we see is that, and some of the studies, that argument is that when something that a child, I forget my phone today, and then I go and come back and forget my phone, then we say, okay, but
you got muted. Yeah. Anyway, in a nutshell.
No, the question I was saying is that when the issue we see is that if a young person forgets something, I forget my phone, I come back and forget, I'm always forgetting your phone. We don't assign or label that person dementia, having a dementia, but it is an older person. They say, oh, they're forgetting, therefore they may have dementia. That's why social scientists kind of ask the question, is it a matter of label, selective labeling, or is it really a biological or scientific problem? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you. He did explain, though, that, there's so many factors and common factors that create the risk that we're all experiencing. So the diagnosis tells us where we are today, but his presentation is more about a breakthrough that reminds us of where we might be going. And that means there are some things that are within our control and things that are not. Ultimately, mostly they are within our control. There's the preventative. He talked about the 3 pillars: knowing your marble, knowing your numbers, getting an early test, vitamin D, all of those are the stuff that he talked about. So at the end of the day, we will build a BPP, which is a brain prevention program template. And we will need contribution from everybody. We just have it here and just see what are the things that you can add to your toolbox, for lack of a better word, to help improve your current condition. And if you're 30 years old right now, you think, oh, I'm not experiencing any of these things, wait for it, it's coming. The minute you cross over 60, you got hit by different things. So getting an early start will definitely help you. All right. So Dr. Zogu, you have your hand up.
Yeah. Yes, I do. Actually, it was more to comment on this labeling thing. And this is really why the idea of the pathophysiology becomes important, because now they are going into the pathophysiology and really telling the mechanism behind it. That's scientific evidence for that pathophysiology. So it's no more really a labeling thing as long as it's appropriately diagnosed. And because the pathophysiology is clear and understandable, then we can manage patients to prevent the condition, because there is a process that leads to this. Of course, accidental issues like acute brain injury from motor vehicle accident or something like that, all those are possible. But in terms of disease pathologies that can lead to these things, we know there's a pathophysiology that affects the blood-brain barrier, and those small blood vessels that feed the brain, and the brain's dependence on proper blood flow to them to function, because it doesn't have much reserve. So that removes labeling from that. Thank you.
Very well. Thank you, sir. So, we've listened to all the information and we've heard all the facts, including the risk. This is all to help us think differently. And at the end of the day, it means some of our habits must change. It's like a man looking at the mirror and you see lettuce or whatever on your teeth and you walk and say, it's not a problem. Why did you look in the mirror? So you're here today to listen, to get information, to be educated, and so you can control certain things. We can slow some things down. And, at the end of the day, we want to live a better quality of life, I believe. and God will help us. So, Dr. Ajibade, one more question
Sister Lara, sorry, I forgot to mention something. Sorry, please forgive me not to interrupt you. I saw a young girl sent to me today, right? Because of palpitations. Young girl, little obese, her vitamin D level, she's forgetting a lot of things, and she's in the medical field. Her vitamin D level was only 5.8.
Oh my God.
5.8. She's only 30 years old. She's in the medical field. Okay. So now I can deal with palpitations, but I know that the pathophysiology of that is beyond the palpitations. There's a lot more. That vitamin D level of 5.8 is affecting her memory more than anything else. And I have to address that, because there's more problem for her than just palpitation. So again, pathophysiology knowledge is extremely very important. She has high blood pressure that's not being treated. So I have to really, we have to really address that to preserve what is left in, with her, and of course, and her future. Anyway, sorry about that, sister. Sorry.
No, that's good. That's good to know. So what is the threshold number for people here that don't know what the number is? Because 5 point something doesn't mean.
Did you say she's a medical field? Did you say she's a medical field? It means she's a, what can you, 10-year-old, she's a medical field? Well, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, she's in the medical field.
She works in the hospital, and she works a lot. And funny enough, she works night shifts. So during the daytime, she tries to sleep. She doesn't get into this. So it's all of these situations. Okay. But now, they will tell you the number level is 30 and above. I would tell you, get it to the 70s and 90s, and if you can, because 30s and above, the importance of vitamin B on membranes is so important. Okay, that just hovering around 30 is not enough. But hers is 5. I have not seen 5.8 in over 25 years.
Yeah. So,
that is scary.
Dr. Ajibade, Dr. Zogo, can you guys tell us which kind of test should we be asking our doctors for?
Bingo.
As for vitamin D test, what else should we be asking for? Because you have to know your numbers. If you don't know your number, you can't help yourself.
Yeah. Dr. Zogo, you want to go ahead?
Yeah.
Well, for me, protect your blood-brain barrier. If you have high blood pressure, don't go waiting and say pressure, the number is good today, now is okay, I'm not going to take my medication and all that. Or that your diabetes, and then you're not going to manage the sugar, you're not going to control it, and damaging those end organs. Of course, basic labs, the vitamin D has to be, checked. We are checking that, of course. Again, for me, it's management of cardiovascular disease problem. In terms of the brain issues, I will leave it to Dr. Ajibade to deal with. But those basic labs, at least the vitamin D level should be checked. Thyroid function test, cardiac lipid profile, all that, because all those involve the blood vessel around the heart, and then managing those conditions, because the blood vessel is everywhere. And this thing talk about aldosterone. Aldosterone is every part of your body. There are local aldosterone in different parts of your body, unless the tissue is even dead. Okay, so managing conditions that will address that aldosterone is very, very important.
All right. Dr. Ajibade, your input.
Okay. Yeah, along with what Dr. Ezegu has said. So the basic blood pressure numbers for sure. Then blood sugar level.
And what should the numbers be? For the benefit of everybody here, what should be the blood pressure number be?
So 130 and 80 is the upper, 130 over 80 is the upper limit. Is what has been agreed now.
130 over 80. Okay.
Yeah, so strive to get it below that. Of course, not. I mean, 110 over 70 to 130 over 80 should be your target range.
Okay. Because if it goes too low, you have low blood pressure. That's not good either.
Correct. And Dr. Ezegu, I know there's some nuances there, because older adults tend to have a little higher blood pressure, which is normal for them.
Well, my comment on that, yeah, Keeping it around 120 and 170 is a reasonable thing. The lower, the better, okay, using the spring trial. But remember that just controlling the number alone does not prevent those end organ damages that are mediated by aldosterone.
Right.
So you have to address both.
Right.
You have to protect the end organs, and then you have to lower the number. So the idea of saying like, I'm only gonna take one medication or my pressure is not better, then I don't care about it, it's just building up problems. And of course, if you're obese, you have to bring the weight down, even if it's 1 pound weight loss a month, to bring it down to something reasonable. Many things. Exercise is one of the most preventive things you can actually do. Do it, get some suntan in the morning when you go do it, and of course, go to church. Keep your mind clean. Do the right thing. Be happy.
Amen and
laugh.
amen and amen. All right.
Help
Very
people.
well.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you.
The other test would be just sufficient. But by the way, for the women on this call, I have a quick favor. I'm putting together a program for women, but I have a quick 4 minutes survey while we're talking. If I may ask, I'm just going to put the link here. I crave your indulgence. If you can just click on it and then just answer some of the questions. You're just going to put check marks on what you would like to hear about, what areas of female brain health would you like to see, and all that, to just help me as I design the program for women. So if you don't mind, please click on the link and then answer the questions. I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm gonna give everybody 1 minute. So Dr. Ajibade, let's pause for a minute because I would like for everybody to get a chance to respond. I mean, to complete the survey. It's just a click here, click there question.
Yeah.
So I will come back. So everybody, ladies on the phone, Dr. Booker, I'm coming for you. You need to have a question. Abimbola, I can't find you. Did she leave? Okay, so I'm coming back. So let's take a minute to quickly complete the survey so that we can get good information. Ready, set, go. So Dr. Ajibade, in the body, metabolism, and physical health, are we supposed to just click one or all that applies?
All that applies, I think.
Okay.
It's not allowing you to do that.
It is. I just wanted to make sure it doesn't skew your result.
No, it's all that applies is good.
Okay. Select preferred choice of what?
I'm not looking at it directly now.
Question number 5, preferred format to participate in person, virtual, is the live session. What does that mean? Or phone call or I don't know what all of that mean.
Okay, so the format is, so virtual would be like a webinar that we're doing now. That virtual, okay. So it's like webinar.
Okay.
In person is my physically being there in front of you to do a class.
Oh.
Then phone call, then I think the other one is Does that make sense?
Okay. Okay. No, the phone call is not there. So,
Okay.
yeah. Program length. Are we going to college?
Too many questions, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. So, ladies, are you almost done? We said 1 minute. So, Dr. Ajibade, what is the cost of purchasing this supplement, say for a loved one in Nigeria? What would be the cost? What's the minimum?
So it varies. So it's not just about purchasing the supplements. It's really about getting treatments. Because
so are you going to host a, what do they call this thing that they all go to Nigeria to do? Medical
missions.
Medical mission, yes. Thank you.
Medical mission. No.
The free medical mission.
I'm not doing pre-medical mission. No. I told you I do pre-medical mission every month. I'm already doing that. I've been doing that for over 11 years now. So that's anything I'm doing now for adults is not free. It's
Yeah, well, okay. Just if we refer people to you in Nigeria, you have to have a forum. You have to have an education forum in Nigeria. NEPAC is here, Bridgeport is here. There are so many or foundation that could maybe sponsor a session. Is there going to be an assessment before you start giving them? What would be, okay, maybe we'll ask that offline. Because you have to give us more information to participate, right?
Well, when you say participate, the way it happens is that people reach out, and then if they have a patient and all that, and then my staff we give them the forms, they fill out the forms, and then they have to pay for the consultation, and then from the consultation, if they want to proceed with treatment, then they pay for the treatment. So it's not just they just can't buy the supplements. Because even if they have the supplements, they wouldn't know what to do with it.
Okay, we'll have to create some kind of marketing program, because you have to create a flyer that we NEPA can market on our site, send to as many people as possible. There needs to be a specific day that says you're going to be at the Diaraba bus stop, whatever. Those who want to show up, those who have interest, or that this thing may have value for, they show up and you take it from there. But it's got to be some way to publicize the great work that you're doing, so that those who need to benefit from it can have access to it.
When you say benefit, are we talking about the free or paid?
No, not the free. They're going to, whatever the conditions are. But if people don't even know that it's cured, just like you, I think it was maybe Professor Amadu, what I was saying, you forget your key because you're over 60. Oh, people say you're going through Alzheimer. But a 30-year-old can also forget their key. It's a question of just maybe not being organized, or you were in a hurry. So there are many people there in Nigeria, and it's been ascribed to just pretty much aging, who are displaying early symptoms of dementia or Alzheimer's. But they don't know what it is, so it is not diagnosed. And if there's any opportunity to prevent it from getting worse, information is power, they say, right? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So they need to have, and in Nigeria, the good thing about it is that you get free publicity. You tell one person that, one person tell 5 people. It's a word of mouth. The best advertisement is word of mouth. So the best we can do here as members of some of the organization is share a flyer or a link of what it is that, is available to them to get information, even maybe some of the seminar that you want to host, whatever that would be. But in person is probably more effective in Nigeria. So if there's a day, it doesn't have to be today. There's a day you're going to be in Nigeria, maybe you rent a school or something and say, hey, people who need information here, meet us at this place. And from there, they will decide what they need to pay for it. A lot of them have international support. They would contact their sister or whatever, they call us for Ashwebi. So if they need to take care of their brain, they'll call us too.
Yes, ma.
All right. So
that's a great idea. I think that's a great idea, ma. Thank you for pushing that.
No, so because Dr. Ezego started, he said, go to church. That's part of evangelism. You have to spread the good news.
Yes.
So this is a good news. And I love the boldness. I love the confidence with which you're saying it and say, hey, there is cure. Okay. But it's one at a time. Let's figure out what are your symptoms. Let's not just generalize whatever is going on with you. It could be vitamin D, it could be potassium, it could be anything. But if one thing goes off, it affects the rest of the body because it's one whole body. It's one mechanical system. So we got to figure out how to minimize, the breakdown of any of the body parts. All right. So my favorite, Dr. V.
Auntie Me, thank you for a phenomenal engagement of all of us. And I thank Dr. Ajibade. He's been an educator in our community. And we're just so proud of you, Dr. Ajibade. Madam Chair, you said you propose a good way to reach people. I want to add on to it. Dr. Ajibade may be doing that already. Leverage the School of Medicines. There's a lot of them. And do it in conjunction with their, with them, and they can also get the word out.
Let me jump in on that, man.
Okay.
Let me jump in on that. What I said this at the beginning, that this is what I'm talking about is not standard of care. So most hospitals would run in the opposite direction. When I first went back to Nigeria, I spent a lot of time just going to the hospitals and teaching, and in fact they would ask me to pay because they considered me a pharmaceutical sales rep. So
got it.
I would have to pay for lunch for all the doctors and the nurses that came to attend, and all I was trying to do was educate them like we're trying to do now. So no, it's not as easy as that. The hospitals are not going to welcome you with open arms, even though what you're doing is impactful, but they're not going to. They're not.
I know who can. If you want to go as far as Delta State, he's in charge of the Commissioner for Health, and he's very open and has worked somewhat with Dr. O as well. Let me know. He's worked directly with the governor. So let me know. I can partner with him. And you guys, he's trying to impact health in the rural area. That's a high end for the governor. And in fact, the governor just appointed him, because that's what they do in Nigeria, for running for House of Rep in Nigeria. So he's quite impactful. Thank you. Madam CEO, I love your suggestion. It's a great one. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end. In 1 minute, we'll be wrapping up. If anybody has any question, Dr. Buka, where are you?
Dr. Veronica, what you said is wonderful, but I'm telling you, we know where we come from.
Yes.
I don't care what your knowledge is, what you have to offer them. If you don't go along with them the way they do their corny thing, yeah, what it is. It won't come out.
Yeah, Auntie Tawa, you're right, but you know that Nigeria is also who know man, and yes. I know that Dr. Awuno will be super excited about it, and also will be a vehicle for them to reach out to, kind of expand his impact. So I think that at least that will be a community you can impact on this very important health issue. Thank you. Thank you, Auntie Tawa.
We have come to the end. It's 6 o'clock, 9 p.m.
Okay, thank you so much. And again, my suggestion that we should be very aware of the cost of labeling. The cost of labeling is very high. We should be very careful. There are some things that are natural, that nature takes its course, and there are some things that we can impose a label and then destroy the people that we are trying to help, we end up destroying them. And I think that's why we should be very careful on this.
Yeah, that is, thank you, sir. That's understood. There are all kinds of labeling.
Yeah.
However, what I would like for us to take away from today's presentation, just so we still keep a laser focus on the topic, is, you know, what's one habit, after listening to all of this today, what's one habit that each of us can begin to change this week to protect our cognitive health? What is one habit?
Go to church, just like Dr. just
okay, so that's one of those options. Go to church and be baptized. Yes.
Yeah, be peaceful, stay peaceful, set boundaries.
Okay, many recommendations here. Check with your doctor, conduct those basic tests, you know. So, because we want to make sure that we are benefiting from the information that we are hearing. So we want to thank everybody on behalf of Dr. Tonyo Kwesami.
May I recommend that people read Thomas Sass and Dr. David Rosenhan on dementia and mental illness, so to learn more about what it is. It's very important. Right. Yeah. Okay. Knowledge is power, as we say, right?
Yes, yes, yes. So thank you, everybody.
Put the names to the chat, please. That way, put the names to the chat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So we're going to have.
Chair, can I go through real quick? I believe some of the questions have been answered in the chat already, but I want to run through real quick, and then Dr. David can add it as part of his closing remarks.
Yes.
So one of the questions says that at what age should one take supplements, actions that protect the brain? I'm just going to run through them. And then another question is that, do you need to have brain protection program even when you do not have dementia or any illness? And another question also says that, how do we get a copy of the book? That I know we've answered that. The link is there. And then someone also says that, thank you, Dr. Ajibade, for your fabulous presentation. As always, my question is there anything in the Nigerian? I don't know if I get the question right. One also says that
no, that's been answered.
Some men that helps in boosting one's memory and reduce incidences of memory problem or dementia. Another one says that it's not the natural vitamin D3 plus K2. You
might want to pause because that's a lot of questions for him to answer. Let's take the.
No, I'm just running through there because I know some of them have been answered already. So it can be part of his closing remarks.
All right. So Dr. Ajibade, let's have your closing remark. And I think Dr. Ajay asked some 3 top questions about what age you start taking top supplement. Do you need BPP? Do you need, you heard some of those questions.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm just address that. What age am I? I give kids as young as 6 months old supplements. I'm probably go overboard to one end to one side of the ditch than the average doctor. But I just don't. I think we live in a world in which there's way too much that is against us for us not to be overly careful about supplements. I think especially Black people, you got it. Everybody should be on vitamin D, especially Black people. Then obviously there are other things like potassium and magnesium. Almost everybody is deficient in magnesium. There's another thing. A lot of people are deficient in vitamin C. So to answer that question, I don't think there's I don't think you can start using supplements too early. There's if it's the right kind of supplements, there's no early age for that. The other question was what,
Ma? Dr. J.
Yes, I was reading from the chat. So pretty much, I'm sure he has covered a lot of them already. So I'll just bring them out so you can kind of like put it together with the wrap up, and then we should be done. So,
okay.
If I mean, what you got now so far, I believe to answer the rest of the questions that are in the chat, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think
unless
so
anybody
too.
says that it's all answered satisfactorily, please let's hear you so we can put it in the closing remarks. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Hearing none.
Somebody mentioned Nordic vitamins, natural vitamin D3, K2, good for adults. Correct. I think you should choose whatever you like. You just don't want to take some gummies that have extra sugar and all that. So that would be my only caveat to that.
Okay.
Do you need to have a brain protection program even when you don't? I mean, that's the whole idea behind prevention. Is when you are normal that you should be on a brain protection program, not when you have a problem. So I guess that is self-explanatory. Yes, you do need to have a brain. You do need to be on a brain protection program. Everybody needs to be, in my opinion. Okay, all right. So thank you again, folks. Thank you again, Auntie Lara and Dr. O and everybody else on the team. I guess, can I give my closing remarks now?
Yes.
Yes. So brain protection is not something that you just dabble into. I think you need to. It should be taken very seriously, especially for amongst those people who look like me on the show. We are at a disadvantage. In some cases, some would argue a significant disadvantage when it comes to brain health because of some of the things that we've mentioned. I didn't mention a few other things, but there are studies in Johns Hopkins that show that we tend to have higher risks of cardiovascular, of strokes, and other problems in the brain because of there are some genetic reasons for that predispose us to these things. So we cannot take things for granted. I have a show in Nigeria that has been going on for now, going on 9 years now. It won the best show in Africa. And the reason for that is because I was talking specifically about things that pertain to us Black people. And we tend to be very careless, unfortunately, when it comes to our health. I just don't think we take it seriously enough, with all due respect. So I would admonish you to please look out for information, take your health seriously, especially your blood pressure and your blood sugar. And if you can, tomorrow, I'm starting my talk every 2 o'clock at 2 p.m. If you go to my website, you will see you can join free of charge our Zoom conversations about brain health and what you need to do. We'll be discussing keeping your marbles. So I hope to see you there. And please feel free to reach out if you want to take advantage of the 15-minute free.
Yeah, where's the calendar invite? Do you have a schedule where people can go in and make appointment?
Yes, it's on the site, but let me quickly check that real quick so I can just get that for you.
Also, maybe post again the link of the website. So.
Okay.
So, Dr. Ajibade, you're a brain miracle worker. You're not a good marketer. Give us all the stuff.
Let's market it for you. Auntie is correct. Oh, don't laugh it off. She's right. She's a crackerjacker when it comes to.
So give us the stuff. Give us the good stuff. Anyway, while we're doing that, Dr. oh yeah, go perfect.
Excellent.
Aha. We have the calendar list. So those of you that want to make appointment, take advantage of the 15-minute. There it is.
And then there's my website, so you can go there for more information and all that.
All right. Very well.
On the homepage of the website, you can actually just click on that, and then you can register for the talk tomorrow if you are free. Or you can just go there directly tomorrow and then join the call.
Yeah, and then people internationally can log on, right? Because it's on LinkedIn, right?
Well, it's not on LinkedIn. It's on Zoom. So you just go to my website and you click on it, and it takes you to the Zoom, the Zoom meeting room.
From anywhere in the world. Okay, thanks.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So very well. Thank you so much, Dr. Ajibade. We can't thank you enough. Thank you for all that you have shared with us tonight. Knowledge is the first step towards hope. Knowing what is going on in your body, understanding what it is, and knowing that, sometimes it's not even a death sentence. Somebody just sent me a text saying that let me see what he said, because it was just very important. He said he's been in an emergency, suffering extreme vertigo. He thought it was stroke, but thank God it's not stroke, it's just vertigo. So when you talk about brain health, it's connected with the eyes and all other part of the body. So these are things that we need to know what's going on so that, we don't fall into classical labels like Professor Ahmadu Baba is trying to say, and don't self-diagnose yourself. See a doctor. So on behalf of Dr. Toyin Opesomi, the producer of Medical Mondays, and our technical director, Dr. Ajay, our supporting cast, Sister Tawa, Dr. Ezogu, Dr. Veronica, Dr.
Prof.
Where's Prof? Oh, Baba, yeah. Professor, some people did not speak tonight, so I'm not going to call them. Dr. Ogunleye, you need to speak. Oh, yeah, Dr. Lawal, we want to say.
Then lawyer Olorun Nishola, we didn't hear her today.
They did not
I was
speak.
speaking in text.
Oh, in text.
And
Yeah.
Dr. Ogunleye, Dr. O.
All right. All right.
Yeah, all my messages are in text.
Good night, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you,
Segobe,
Dr. O.
Akifo.
Thank you,
I
Auntie.
will
You
see
did
you on
a
the next one.
fabulous job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Say
Adios.
Chifo, there's one more.
Say the
Sego.
Safi.
Say the
Thank
Safi.
you. Have a
Yeah.
good
I
night.
didn't hear Yoruba.
What
Yeah.
about
Odaro.
adios?
Odaro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Adios is
Adios, English, Spanish,
Kachifo.
French. What is French? What is good night in
Bonne
French?
nuit.
Bonne nuit.